Hello everybody, I'm Lakota, this is Tangential Gaming, and tonight is not D&D night, sadly.
Very disappointingly.
Yeah, it sucks. So two of our players had stuff that they really needed to... One of our players had something he really needed to do, the other one had a medical emergency, that sort of just came up randomly. So it's just going to be me and Daniel tonight, and we're just going to talk about stuff because Daniel is probably the person in our group who knows the least about D&D. I'd have to say you've played once, I know that, but out of the out of the five of us, I feel like you probably know the least.
I would definitely say I know the least out of everybody that we've gamed with.
Cause like I've played with my brother. I have my other game, my private game with my brother. Um, and then Dominic, uh, Dominic just likes tabletop RPGs. He has characters for tabletop RPGs. He'll probably never play in, but he has them. Uh, and then Patrick has at least played. Um, he has at least played Baldur's Gate 3, and I think he listens to a couple of D&D podcasts. I don't know what he knows outside of that. But yeah, I'd say you're probably the one who knows the least. So today we're going to we're going to try and educate Daniel.
It's a learning session.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let me scroll. I have a folder on a USB drive that is just literally all the stuff about my homebrew world. Which also, anybody who watched session one and was very confused, yes, we are in fact playing in my personal homebrew world. Um, Both of my games are set in my homebrew world because I tried playing a game set in the canon D&D world and I found it stifling, so I just started world building.
All right, when you say homebrew world, it's just like a world that you create.
Yes, it's a world that I have created myself.
Okay, that's. I figured that, but
Yes.
your homebrew and my homebrew are two different homebrews.
I assume when you say homebrew, you occasionally mean something alcoholic, right?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
All right. So so we're gonna start with all of the races that are in my homebrew world. I have all of them separated into different categories. I have all of them separated into different categories based on essentially creature type to a certain extent. I will also state that technically we're not supposed to call them races anymore. D&D has switched over to calling them species because it's a more accurate term.
Because
See,
most of them are pretty much more animalistic than they are human.
some of them are. I mean, you've
I
got things
guess,
like
right?
you've got things like dwarves and elves, which are pretty human. They're just different size and don't necessarily grow facial hair sometimes. Um,
And they live a hell of a lot longer.
live a heck of a lot longer. Yeah. All right. The first category is humanoid, which is your basic humans, dwarves,
Slash
orcs.
robot.
Huh?
Oh, I thought it was like a human slash robot.
No. That's in a different section. So humanoid is human, dwarf, orc, and halfling. Also, there's a race in here called Cyclopean, which comes from another book called Helena's Guide to Monster Hunting. Cyclopeans are these humanoid creatures with a single eye that sort of just. So take the idea of ADHD and make it a person. That's a
So like
cyclopean.
Percy Jackson.
A little bit. It's a sort of the idea of cyclopeans like to learn, and they will learn and learn and learn and learn and learn and just keep learning. it's their entire thing that they will just study things, oh, just relentlessly, and have like different sections of their little home that they have like dedicated to these things that they're studying. They're personally one of my favorites because I love that kind of thing. In my personal canon, they were created by the god of knowledge and magic in my world named Solomon, named after King Solomon, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
and essentially, they are a physical embodiment of the god Solomon's biggest flaw, which is he gets really, really focused on his work and forgets to do other things, like eating
Well, that's lovely.
or answering his cult slash worshippers' prayers, or listening to their
Lovely.
or listening to their prayers. People have to watch Solomon because if they're not careful, he will spend all of his time in his library.
Hmm. Well,
He's that friend who, if you haven't heard from him in like a day, you should probably go check on him. The
I have some friends like that.
the next species category I call the created, and they are species that were literally by uh, created by mortals, essentially, not created by gods or anything like that. They were created by mortals. The first is the Warforged, or the robot people, like the mayor of Hellside, or New Hillside. Hellside's the nickname.
Okay, so the mayor is the robot dude.
Yes, his name is Third, just to remind you.
Oh yeah, Mayor Turd. That's right.
Yep, Mayor Turd. I seriously did not even consider that as a nickname when I came up with it. I'm like, Third. Oh yeah, it's a great idea to name him this. It'll be a funny little gag of, oh, his name is Third because he's the third mayor. Nope, you guys just immediately jumped to Turd.
You're welcome.
Thanks. the next the next created species is called the Scriptori, and essentially they are people made out of books.
Torah?
Scriptori, spelled Scriptorii. They
Okay.
they are people made out of books and paper. Their souls and heart, or core, as it were, is literally a single book, and then papers and things wrap around that book and form a humanoid shape.
That's actually kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I love it. It was a homebrew race that I found while diving through one of the many D&D Reddits, and I loved it so much. I'm like, I've got to put this in my world because it's so cool. I should really find the name of the person who created it to give them credit. Might take me a minute, because I have so much D&D stuff here. Dude. Where I had a folder that was literally just marked races, but I don't know if I still have it. Oh, actually, wait, I know what I can do. Maybe it's still here. NPCs. Nope, don't have it there. Uh, Hang on. I'm gonna have to do a search of my entire flash drive. Going to the search bar.
That could take a while.
Oh, don't worry. I think my brother's waking up. He doesn't want to,
Well,
though.
good. Not.
I said it, and he immediately smacked his head back down on the pillow.
Tell him I said wake up.
Daniel says, "Wake up."
Hell no.
Or Xylophone will shoot him in the ass with an arrow.
I got bad news, dude. We had D and
I
D.
heard.
Yeah, D and D got
Hey,
canceled.
Daniel, I've got me a shovel.
My brother would like to know. He would like you to know that he has a shovel.
I'm not scared of a shovel. I got a bow.
He's got you there. Oh, good lord. All right, I really want to find this name.
All right, so I rolled a 23, so he's screwed.
That is a pretty high roll, actually. Oh, I found it. It's on Dungeon Masters Guild. If anybody wants, it's on Dungeon Masters Guild for pay what you want, and the suggested price is 99 cents.
I'm just saying.
I highly recommend it for anybody who wants a really cool
Hello.
constructed race.
Oh, okay.
Anybody who wants a really cool constructed race, it's from David Somerville. Scriptori, an arcane playable race for D&D 5e. The one thing about it is you do get vulnerability to fire, but I mean, you're made of paper, so...
Well, I mean, if you get vulnerability to fire and you're made of paper, I mean, you ain't got nothing to worry about. Oh, wait, no, never mind.
Yeah,
I thought about that after I said it.
You're thinking invulnerability.
Yep. So, what happened was you're cutting in and out.
Am I?
You are.
Sound fine on my end. How bad is it?
It's like every, I don't know, 15 seconds.
Weird.
Yeah, it's just every now and again you cut in and out.
That's weird.
I mean, I've got full signal and I'm on Wi-Fi, so.
I'm also on Wi-Fi. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know how to... I don't know how I'd fix that.
So that's one thing, like when we was gaming, I noticed, like, you would cut in and out. I could hear it, like, when me and Dom and Patrick were talking, like, I could hear us just fine, like, just plain as day, clear as water. And then every so often you would cut in and out.
Weird. I have no idea how to fix that. I mean...
I blame Joker Jack.
Oh, ha, ha, ha. Joker Jack didn't do shit.
I mean, it sounded fine in the recording.
Yeah. That's true.
So I don't know what could possibly be causing it. I also don't know how I would fix it.
I just thought I'd bring it to your attention.
I appreciate that. I will look into fixing it, but for now, the next group of species is the goblinoids, which contains goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears, and vril.
Okay, so I know what goblins are. I don't know what the rest. I kind of know what hobgoblin is. Like, I have a kind of blurry image of what a hobgoblin is, but the rest of them, I don't know what the rest of them are.
Okay, so beginning with goblin. Goblin is essentially what you think. It's a small green, blue, gray, depends on what color you want them to be, but they're usually green. Small race. Lots of them are feral little monsters that live in the woods and attack carriages try to rob you of all your money. But in my world specifically, they are also civilized, which civilized quote unquote goblins who there's an entire goblin city in my world. It's on a different continent from you guys, but it's called Bloodhaven. And it
You mean Bloodhaven?
I said Bloodhaven. I said it right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
uh it's Bloodhaven, and it is
That's my dad.
essentially what happened was a one of the goblins they stole a they stole a shipment of gunpowder, and they were going to keep
So they
it.
gotta die.
Oh no, they were going to keep it, but then one of the goblinoids realized, wait, what if we did something else with it? What if instead of keeping it and using it, what if we found a way to make it and find it and sell it? And from
Sorry, sons of bitches.
and from there they built an empire of being one of the only groups outside of the eastern continent where gunpowder was invented to basically they have a near monopoly on gunpowder on other continents.
I mean, it was a very smart decision on their part, but at the same time, like, what the heck, guys?
They like bullshit
Like,
up.
we could have used that gunpowder. I mean, I got a bow. I don't need gunpowder, but we could have used that gunpowder.
I mean, they're part of the reasons that you can technically buy a gun in my world.
I have a character named Rusty, but because views to let me use him.
He wouldn't. Rusty would not have fit into this campaign.
Rusty said, "Screw you."
Love you too, Steven. So, hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are what happen if you take two goblins, stack them on top of each other, and turn them into a person. A hobgoblin is a
Yeah.
human-sized goblin. In the canon D&D art, they're usually shown with red skin, and they're essentially boss goblins. They're the guys that are they're usually the guys who are in charge.
Yeah.
After-
They usually have, like, goblins or something lower rank below them.
Yes, exactly. After that, you have the bugbears. Bugbears are
The what?
bugbears. Huh?
You say bugbears?
Bugbear. Yep. It's a weird name, and it does not at all represent what they are. So imagine a goblin head on top of a big, tall, hairy body with really long arms. Hang on, I will look up.
So it's pretty much like a goblin and a bear mix.
Kinda. But not quite. Hang on, I'm gonna pull an image from Google and post it in images. That burn it. Post, aren't you? It wants to let me post.
I gotta find images.
Yeah, just look up bugbear. It's spelled exactly how you think it is.
I don't care about no freaking ad. Oh my god. Okay, I don't know if y'all could hear my ad that was just playing. But...
No, I couldn't hear it.
Okay.
Like
Everything I do on my phone, my son has decided to download, like, games on my phone. And he downloaded Gore Box. I don't know if you've ever heard of that,
What is it called?
but Gore Box
No,
or Gore Block.
I've never heard of that. No.
Anyway, it's a little RPG game, I guess. Anyway, ever since he downloaded it on my phone, like
Roblox. Oh yeah.
No, he said gore.
anything I click on, my Cash App, my internet, any kind of app I got on my phone, I click on it, and I had to watch an ad.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Oh, this is not what I wake up to. Walk outside the dang bulls in the yard.
It happens.
He's out now.
Of course.
Jesus.
Okay, yeah, I've seen those creatures before.
Yeah, that's a bugbear. They're
You see, one every day is my brother.
ha 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 ha. Love you too, Steven. Good lord. Yeah, bugbears are rough creatures. They have weirdly long arms, which gives them reach as one of their abilities, which makes bugbear rogues and fighters with the polearm master feat absolutely busted. Let me think. But yeah, they're like the muscle of the goblinoid family. They're like the big, kind of dumb, muscle-bound brutes that the hobgoblins usually use to boss everyone around, right?
Right.
However, in my world, the city of Bloodhaven is run by a bugbear. It has been run by a family line of bugbears, actually.
Yeah, you do your sex. You talk right there, right?
Yeah, we're sort of doing a podcast thing to make up for not being able to play D&D tonight. And then finally are the Vril, and there are probably people who are going to watch this who don't know what the Vril are. The Vril are in the main canon what happens when dark elves decide to perform when dark elves in the Underdark decide to perform terrible experiments on goblins to create something weird. They are purple-skinned goblins that are technically bigger than normal goblins, but not the same size as a hobgoblin. They've got weirdly long arms, and they have, like, I think, psionic abilities, if I remember correctly. So, like, psychic stuff.
Oh,
Yeah. It's wild.
so they're pretty advanced.
They're at least very interesting, that's for sure. Oh yeah, they also have they're vulnerable to poison. They have a climb speed. They have resistance to thunder damage, which is sound damage. And they have keen hearing, which means they have advantage on perception checks that rely on hearing.
So it means you step on a stick, and they're gonna turn their head and be like, "Hey, got you."
Yeah, more or less. They have an ability called Shriek, which you can use your attack action to replace one of your attacks with a 15-foot radius ear-splitting screen in a 30-foot cone, or a 30-foot cone. And each creature that is not a Vril in the area must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 1d8 thunder damage and is deafened for 1 minute. On a successful save, a creature takes half as much damage and is not deafened. This damage increases by 1d8 when you reach character levels 5, 11, and 17. You can use Shriek a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This one I got from Dungeon Dad on YouTube, who he likes to go over, like, old races and monsters and, like, bring them forward into the modern age of D&D, right?
Right.
And yeah, this was just a really cool idea for another goblin race, and I'm like, I want this in my game. And so in my game, canonically, yeah, they are goblins that were experimented on, but over time have become their own species that exists among the other goblinoids. They're kind of, they kind of stick out among other goblins, and they're not super common, but they're around. Oh, also, as a bonus action, they have an ability called Skin Shift. As a bonus action, you can alter the consistency of your skin, giving you resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage until you use this ability again or finish a long rest. When you reach level 5, you may choose to gain resistance to fire, lightning, acid, or cold damage. When you reach level 11, you may choose to gain resistance to necrotic or radiant damage. When you reach level 17, you may choose to gain resistance to any type of damage other than psychic. And you can do this a number of times equal to proficiency bonus as well. Essentially, once per day, basically, up to your proficiency bonus times per day, you get to pick a damage type, and you are now resistant to that damage until you use the ability again or you go to bed. So, yeah, they're pretty interesting.
Yeah, because that definitely sounds like a very unique and valuable skill set.
Well, yeah, I mean, and again, they were experimented on to gain that ability, and now they just sort of now they're just sort of nightmares when they actually show up on a battlefield, because it's like you're using a longsword. Guess what? That doesn't hurt as much as it should.
I have a bad feeling you're going to put us against something like that.
I mean, lots of devils and demons are resistant to basically everything but magical weapons and or silver weapons. So
Yeah, we're definitely going to have our hands full. There ain't no doubt about that.
Well, to be fair, you all have money. If you want a silver, it will be recommended to you at some point that you get your weapons silvered in the case of fighting actual devils and demons. But then again, I have lesser things that aren't necessarily devils and demons, but are hell-afflicted in Hillside. Essentially, the hellish energy from the Shard of Glass has affected the wildlife, and so some of the wildlife has, infernal abilities, but they are still killed by the same weapons. They're just a lot harder to... They just can hit a lot harder. And maybe occasionally breathe fire, but,
So, will Xylophone, my character, since I shoot bows and stuff like that, will I have the same, I guess, ability or chance to, silver my, I guess, arrow tips?
Yes. It costs...
Since I create my own arrows?
So, getting it silvered, you will have to go to a blacksmith for, because you will not have readied access to melted silver.
We have a mimic in this house. This thing keeps grabbing my cats.
Uh-huh. You will not have readied access to melted silver, but getting silver put on your arrow tips is not super expensive, and you can also buy pre-silvered arrows, which are also not super expensive, because arrows themselves are not very expensive.
Okay.
A silvered arrow is obviously more expensive than a normal arrow, but that's just because you're adding silver to it.
Yeah.
The next category I have is called the half category, which is essentially
Like you're half.
Yeah, you're half something else. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
have Azamar listed on this, but I think that's only because I don't have a celestial category because there aren't enough for them to have. There aren't enough celestial based races for them to have their own category. Followed,
Celestial's like a god, ain't it?
huh? Yeah. Well,
A celestial is like a god form.
a celestial in D&D terms is a servant of a god. They're sort of the ones
Okay.
that get sent down to do all of the actual work while the god is focusing on, not letting the universe shatter into 1,000 pieces.
So it's basically like a demigod, really,
A
if you
little
think
bit,
about it
a little bit.
in Greek mythology.
Celestials are closer to demigods than Azamar are, but Azamar do come close to the Percy Jackson idea of a demigod. Um, there are 3 types of Azamar that exist in the game. In the new player's handbook, you have the ability to be any of them you want to be. Like, you can basically go to bed and suddenly you're a different Azamar when you wake, different kind of Azamar when you wake up. But the basic 3 are Protector, Scourge, and Fallen. Protector, you get wings, and you deal radiant damage with your first attack. Scourge, you don't get wings, but you emanate radiant power from your body that that damages anyone within 10 feet of you, and also yourself. But you're also resistant to radiant damage, so why worry
So
about
it
it?
really doesn't hurt you.
I mean, it'll hurt you, but not as much as it hurts everyone around you. Warning though, Scourge Azamar, they hurt everyone around them, friend or foe, doesn't matter.
So you definitely don't want that.
Well, you don't want to be within 10 feet of them when they're doing that, at least. Um, and then there's Fallen Azamar, which, the idea is you were given a job as an Azamar, you either
And you failed.
denied it or failed, and then you either denied it or failed, and so you were punished by having some of your magic stripped from you and turned dark and necrotic.
Nice.
You gain the ability to activate a form where you have basically broken, messed up wings, but you intimidate everybody around you.
I mean, I like intimidation. That just goes a long way with everything. But
Azamar are incredibly interesting. In my world, the Azamar can look like any race. I got that idea from the Unexpectables, which is a D&D podcast that I'm a real big fan of. Honestly, if you ever have time, I highly recommend it.
I've actually heard of them.
Yeah, it's
Or that. Yeah.
it's 200 episodes long. The first campaign is. The second campaign is ongoing. They have another they have another game that they did called the Prince Division, which is a modern fantasy thing. Which is also super cool. It's also a lot shorter. It's like 50 something episodes, I think. So honestly, if you want to start with them and you're not sure about starting a series that is 200 episodes long, I recommend Prince Division. Or look up the 3-shot they did that was set on a different continent and doesn't interact with any of the story stuff, called, I think it was like The Burning Sands or something. It's got its own separate little playlist on their channel on YouTube. But yeah, so the other half species are half-elf, half-orc, half-dwarf, half-dragon, Jotun, which is a half-giant, and Genasi. Genasi are people who are half genie, essentially.
Okay, then that's pretty interesting.
Yes. So how genies work a little bit differently in the D&D world. They're representatives of the elemental planes, essentially. There's still the whole thing of if you find a genie in a lamp, it'll grant you a wish for its freedom or something like that. But occasionally, Genasi will also have relationships with humans, and usually a Genasi is the product of that. In my world, however, there are other ways to become a Genasi, such as, they're the shards of glass which let out planar energy. If you just grow up next to a shard of glass that happens to lead to one of the elemental planes, there's a chance you were born a Genasi.
Oh, nice.
An example of this is there is a city that my brother in the other campaign is from. Um, the city is built on top of a shard of glass that leads to it leads to the plane of the elemental plane of fire, and there's one family in the city whose job it is to look over this shard of glass, because it's also where they built this massive blacksmithing forge. And because they live so close to it, a number of their children and descendants, while they look like dwarves, they're Genasi. They have like beards made of fire, and like they've got like glowing red eyes, and they have bright red skin, like all because they because they spend so much time around this shard of glass.
Yeah. So when you say that, honestly, the way you described it makes me think of Genie from Aladdin.
Yeah, well, so there are 4 types of genie. There Jinn, Ifrit, uh, God, Marid, and good lord, what's the rock one? Hang on.
Rocket, I guess.
I have the monster manual. I can just look it up.
Donnie.
Give it a second. It's loading. I can also show you what some of these things look like, honestly. I can share my screen and let you see it. Genies. Dow, that's what they're called.
It rhymes with drown.
It does rhyme with drow, but there's no real reason for that. Hang on, I'm gonna share my screen. If it'll load. Good lord. Well, while I'm waiting for that, the next thing I have is Infernal / Abyssal, is the category. And in that are only 2 races, which are Tiefling or Pactling with Infernal or Abyssal heritage, and then Slime Folk, which the Slime Folk race that I use... here it is. Go live. All right. Over here in the corner, you can now see the you'll be able to see the picture. There's a little thing that shows. Can you see it?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a Dow.
Yeah, I see it.
That's a Dow. Or at least that's one idea of what a Dow looks like.
So he kind of looks like Death with the Warhammer instead of a scythe.
Well, first off, if you'll look at the chest of that's a woman.
Well, yeah. They kind of look like Death without a scythe.
Agreed, they do. It's an interesting design that they gave it. Next is the Ginny, which is this sucker, who is blue. Obviously, it's supposed to look kind of like Genie from Aladdin. Got a big old sword. Next up is the Ifriti, who are these big...
Do they have males or?
Huh? What was
Yeah,
that?
that's it.
Here's the Afriti, which is the big, who is this just big red demon looking suckers. They're the fire representatives. And then we have the Marid, who are these sort of fish looking water genie. And then
But I bet you he tastes pretty good filleted.
I think he's just mostly made out of water, so I don't know how true that would be. Also, the slime folk in my world actually use a stat block from a from DM Tuz is the name of the person who created those. He did it all with help from someone. I can't. The oh yeah, this is the book for the slime folk, which you can now see. I have the uncensored version, so apologies. It's nothing too bad, just, mostly just boobs.
I'm an adult. I think I can handle it.
Oh, I know. I'm talking about YouTube.
Don't cancel him, YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, these are the slime folk. As you can
Like
see,
and subscribe, y'all.
like
Like
and
and
subscribe.
subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Yeah. But yeah, this is what Uza is. The little slime person you guys met in session 1. This is what she is. And I went over a little bit of their lore in the session, but um, essentially a god of essentially a god, the god of pestilence, created them as an attempt to make a sentient slime army. Solomon, the god of knowledge and magic, found out and said, "No, I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm gonna take them and I'm gonna turn them into just curious little tricksters." And now they just sort of wander all over the place looking for interesting things to get caught up in. They're known for having a lot of them are known for having very bubbly personalities, and yeah, I find it funny personally. We then have the aquatic races, which are the Triton and the I'm going to butcher this name. Sindarin, who are also from Helena's Guide to
The
Monster Hunting.
Sidarin?
Huh? It's hard to
You
pronounce
talking about the
because
Sidarin?
yeah, it's spelled Cnidaran.
So Sindarin.
Yes, I think that's how it's pronounced. I could possibly be wrong. I'd have to look in Helena's Guide to Monster Hunting to correct myself though. And it's a big book, so I'm not going to even pull that out right now. Um
Yeah, I
the,
don't blame you.
the Tritons are what you would consider uh are kind of what you consider traditional merfolk, except if they were more fishy. Like basically just fish humanoid, but with
Yeah.
like humanoid faces, but like fish features. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Sindarin are they are people basically made out of coral. They are aquatic people made out of coral, essentially, which is kind of cool in a bit of a creepy way, because if you know how coral forms, that's a little creepy.
It really is.
The next category is the giant kin, which technically Jotun from the half category would fall into this. The giant kin that are available in my game are the Cyclopses and the Goliath, which you guys have met a Goliath. He's the bodyguard for the goth lady. for
Yeah.
For Dommy goth lady.
That's the one that's got the whip, right?
No, the one that was holding the parasol. The one with the whip.
Okay. Yeah.
The one with the whip was the samurai chick.
That's right. Like I told you, my memory sucks anyway.
That's okay. I'm happy to go over all of this all over again if I have to. I was incorrect. The Sindarin are the ones who are jellyfish people. There is a group of coral people, but I don't remember where they are. But yeah, the Sindarin are like jellyfish people. Which actually, fun fact, jellyfish are plants.
Really?
Yeah, so how a jellyfish is born is there is a plant that wants to reproduce. So it evolved a way to reproduce by creating an entire animal that just wanders around and reproduces for it. It's part of the reason jellyfish technically have no brains.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
It's also why some species of jellyfish... It's also probably partially why there are species of jellyfish that are immortal, essentially. But yeah, the Goliath are these big...
I never really actually thought about that.
Yeah. Goliaths are these big... just think a gigantic human, essentially. But usually bald. Or at least the ones that are stone giant relatives are bald. In the new game, the Goliath can now be can be descended from any type of giant you want, which is just freaking awesome. And then Cyclopses are it's what you would think for Cyclopses. Very just large dude with a single eye. Those are technically playable in my homebrew world. I have a thing for it, and someone really wanted it, I would do it. Next is the Fae category, which your character falls into.
A Fae category?
Yes, your character, being an elf, falls into this category. This category contains elves, just all of them. Hexbloods, which are humans who are basically given a blood transfusion or a magic transfusion by a hag, giving them hag-like features. Hag spawn, who are people who are actually half hag, half whatever race their male parent was. Satyr, who are, goat people. Gnomes, goblins actually fall into the Fae category as well. Which there's a whole reason for that in my world, but goblins are technically also Fae, while also having their own category. Changelings.
I mean, pretty much they're creatures with humanistic characteristics.
No, the reason that they are, well, if I don't know how much you've looked in like Celtic and Welsh mythology, But when it comes to fairies, goblins are actually fairies in those mythologies and myths and legends. Um, and more recently in D&D, they've been incorporating the fact that, oh yeah, goblins are supposed to be like fae into goblins. In my world, the reason goblins haven't been associated with fae in a very long time is because the goddess of all fae, Artemeos, had multiple children. She most notably had four
Right.
daughters who are the four seasons. So spring, summer, winter, fall, right?
Right.
Um but what ended up happening was she had a son whose name was Gnarlthrash. Gnarlthrash was tricked by another archfey, so just high-ranking fey, into leaving with his creations, the goblins, the Feywilds, but didn't tell him how to get back. And ever since,
Okay.
goblins have been trapped outside of the Feywild, including the god of goblins, Gnarlthrash.
That definitely sounds like a goblin named Gnarlthrash.
Yes, it is a very goblin name. I kind of headcanon in my world that I guess it's not headcanon when I'm the one making the world, but I would like to think that the reason his name is Gnarlthrash isn't because it's his actual name, it's the name that the goblins he created came up with when they actually started worshipping him. And he just sort of adopted it to make them happy.
I could see that actually.
After the goblinoid races, there's changelings, which a changeling is. Once again, I don't know how much you know about Celtic and Welsh mythology. In mythology, a changeling was a being created from a block of wood that a evil witch or fairy or hag would replace a human child with, so that they could either
Baby. Yeah.
so they could eat the baby or raise the baby as their own. The reasons vary, but they would leave this changeling behind, and the changeling, depending on the story, the changeling was either evil or didn't feel human emotions or didn't act like a human, things like that.
Yeah, I knew what a changeling was. That may surprise you, but I actually knew what a changeling was.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. In D&D.
No, you're good. I mean,
in D&D, they are
it's good to describe it because I mean,
in D&D they are a race that has the ability to change what they look like basically whenever they want. There's rules to it, because if you just let someone have infinite disguise self with almost no restrictions, it's going to be abused and it's going to become overpowered very quickly. But essentially, as long as a changeling has seen a person, they can make themselves look like a person. In my world specifically, there are two ways that a changeling is created. They are either born or they are made. Changelings who are born are usually only in the Feywilds, which is the plane of where Fey come from. It's the place where Artemeos, the goddess of all Fey, lives, essentially. The ones that are made are usually made by hags in an attempt to kidnap children. Yeah.
See, honestly, this is the only honest God's truth. The reason I knew what a changeling was is because I just got done binge watching Tales of Arcadia.
Right.
On Netflix.
Right.
I think it was Netflix. And they have changelings and trolls and stuff like that. But
Ah, okay, okay.
like,
Um,
their principal was a changeling.
okay. I have to ask this now. Do you know what a selkie is?
A Selkie.
A selkie, yes.
I've heard the term, but no, I don't know what it is.
So a selkie is an individual who they are an animal who can shed their skin to become a human. A lot of people think it's the other way around, where they're human who
Okay.
puts on an animal skin to turn into an animal. That is inaccurate. They are a magical animal with the ability to take off their animal skin and become a person. Their true form is the animal, not the human. Um, Most commonly, they're sea lions is the ones most people know of, but technically speaking, a selkie can be any animal. And yeah, that's a
I
playable.
knew there was nothing good about a sea lion.
Um, the interesting thing about the most common things that people know about selkie is from the stories about them is that people would find out that they exist, steal their skin, and then force them to marry them. It's exactly as messed up as you think.
So, I mean, how would that benefit the person that forced them to marry them? Like,
They get to
so they could change them into whoever they wanted to, or
no, because the human beings that selkies turn into were often drop dead gorgeous.
ah,
So usually the stories involved like a sailor or something that wanted a wife. It's usually men doing it to female selkie. Very seldom is it ever the other way around. I'm sure there's probably a couple where women do it to a male selkie, but usually it's men doing that to women. Basically, the man would steal the skin and then hide it. And then basically the stories go that the selkie would basically spend most of their days trying to find the skin while the husband was outside the house. And once they got it, they would
so they
immediately.
would have to get back into their original skin
Yes, because
to
remember,
change back, or
yeah, they have to get back into their animal skin. Because remember, the animal is their actual form. The human is a form they take just sometimes.
right?
And it has to be their animal skin because
Uh,
it's them, technically. It can't just be any old animal skin.
okay, so it's like a technically it's like an outer body experience.
Essentially, yes, it's very much like the difference is like their skin is literally like a skin that they have to wear. It's kind of like imagine a werewolf but in reverse
Yeah.
with a rule. Honestly, a really good example is from a werewolf movie that I cannot remember the name of. It's like anybody who watches this will put in the comments that they know exactly what the movie is. But essentially, the premise is that these people turn like when they go to sleep, their spirits turn into real wolves in the real world.
Oh,
Oh crap! Hi, I'm recording.
I feel like I know what movie you're talking about.
Well, I hate to do this to you, but Larry needs your help.
Oh, he does.
Yes.
All right. I guess I can take a break for a little bit.
Take a break, get dressed, and he's going to come and get you. You got to help him go get the loader. I'm in no condition to drive.
All right.
All right, bye.
Talk to you later, Mom. All right. We're gonna take a little break from this for a little bit because my stepdad needs my help.
I was about to say if you need to get off, the kids just got home, so
All right. I mean, that's fine for now then.
that works for me. I mean, if you want to get back on and do some more later, we can.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Cool. All right. You have a good one, dude.
You too, bro.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, later.